Hello, this is Deborah Clay, author and podcaster, and this is Castaway Books. Each week I invite a guest to tell me about the books that have inspired their life and influenced their writing. This week's guest is author Chloe Ford. Okay, this week's guest is romantic comedy author Chloe Ford. Welcome, Chloe. Her latest novel, Work Trip, was published by Aria on the 24th of April. And this is your second romantic comedy, I understand. Remind us what your first one was.
Oh, it's actually my debut, this one. So this is my first one, but it's probably confusing because we've already announced my second book coming out in October.
Hey,
So
hey.
yeah,
Oh, that's
busy, busy.
exciting. I think you're probably my first debut author on the island, so that's
Oh,
exciting.
okay.
So we'll go straight in then to your first book.
Okay. Shall I introduce it?
Mhm.
Okay, so my first book is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
And tell us a bit
What do
about
you want me to about?
when what stage in your life you were reading this and why it had an impact.
I first read this at A level. So in my sort of 18, between 16 and 18. And it was actually around the similar time that the movie was coming out. I'm not going to lie, but I definitely read the book first. Um, and yeah, we were just studying it for my A levels, and I just thought it was the most beautiful sort of romantic book. It was we were reading lots of really heavy sort of dry war films with our sort of male English lit teacher, and then our female English lit teacher had us doing The Great Gatsby and Pride and Prejudice. So I absolutely just fell head over heels for The Great Gatsby. I just think it's the most beautiful. It's quite short, but it's just really lyrical, just a really lyrical book.
Yes, yes. I don't think I saw the film. I read it a long time ago at school, similarly to you did. Yes, it's beautifully written. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing. You haven't picked a book from your childhood, so just fill us in. How many, what have you, I've got siblings? Where did you grow up?
Yes, so I grew up in Sussex, and moved around a bit, and now based in South Gloucestershire. So, I've always been a reader,
Mm.
really keen, and I was super, super into horses growing up, horses and ponies. That was like an obsession. So I pretty much demolished any child's book with horse in, or unicorn.
Mm.
The Unicorn Academy, Sheltie the Shetland Pony. I remember reading, and all the like little riding school dramas.
Mm.
I just loved them, all the little riding school like series. So that was pretty much my childhood reading
Mm.
pattern until I found romance. And
Mm.
and not even teenage romance. I would have sort of been like mid to yeah, probably about mid-teens, so like or early teens, 13, 14 years old when I was snatching my mum's Mills and Boon books from her massive pile under her bed. And I just fell head over heels for romance at that point. And was just devouring those kind of really short, sharp, tropey romances. I love them.
So did you have your own horse or go to riding lessons?
Yes, I very horse orientated. Yeah. Um, I was very much the sort of broke kid at the Pony Club, with all the secondhand gear and the naughty ponies. But yeah, I had horses and competed to fairly good standard, and worked with horses. I'm actually a riding instructor
Is that
as
what you
well.
do
I don't do it
now?
anymore, but
You're a riding
sorry, what
instructor
was
now.
that?
Is that your job now? You're riding instructor?
No, I have nothing to do with horses anymore.
Ah,
I couldn't afford it anymore. I think from the up at the age of 21, 22, it was have a horse or start saving for, like a house and being a grown up. So unfortunately I was sort of forced to pick the latter. And unfortunately, yeah, horses took a step back in my life.
ah,
You never know, I might get back into it one day, but
you
I
will.
don't think I'm as brave as I used to be.
There is that. Okay, so let's go on to your second book.
So that's the Hunger Games. Um, and that is Suzanne Collins. She's obviously just had another book out very recently, which I've also read. So the Hunger Games in general was just, I think I started reading it actually after the movie came out, so I was late to jump on that bandwagon. And I remember watching the movie and being just like, "Whoa, this is amazing." And so I went straight out to buy the books because that's what I always do. And I just think I read the entire series in like two sittings. I just absolutely inhaled these books. And again, I mean, there's a lot of action in them. They're very first person, like fast-paced books. But it's that romance again, the romance in it that really like kept me really invested throughout the entire series. Like, who would she end up with at the end?
Mm.
And I know that's not the key message of the story at all, but I just like, I love that sort of impossible love in a dystopian setting. There's something about that. I just really loved all the dystopian romances growing up, especially all the YA. There was lots of YA ones that came out at the same time, and just read all of them.
Mm, mm. I always like a bit of romance in a book. It doesn't have to be a romance book, but for me, there's got to be always be a love story in there somewhere.
Yeah, I do like to have a bit of yeah, a bit of something romantic in there. Or
Mm,
yeah, I don't actually I don't have to read a romance, but I do like that sort of relationships in general. I find them really fascinating. So friendships as well and
yeah.
parental relationships and stuff. I just find that fascinating.
There's all kinds of love, isn't there? And I think love is just this human emotion that's part of all of our lives. So reading about love, it just evokes those strong emotions. So that's why I think love always needs to be somewhere in the book, in some form, friends, family, relationships. So at this time, the Hunger Games, how old would you have been? What stage of your life would this been at? And what was going on for you in your life at that time?
I am trying to remember. I think I would have been very late teens, so like 19, around 19, because I was in my first year of university.
Mm.
And there are a few things going on, like personal life things that are happening at home and stuff like that, that I think this was just a really great escape for me. University is hard that first year as well. It's a huge like learning curve going from living at home to living on your own. And then you're in a halls which are quite cramped and a lot of like political friendships and things like that going on. And it's a big jump. You're growing up a lot, aren't you, in that first year of university? I think it's really fascinating to see, a lot of people don't handle it and it's quite hard going.
Mm.
So having Hunger Games to devour was very helpful.
So what were you studying at university and whereabouts? Was it far from home?
So we're going back into the equestrian world.
Mhm.
I 18-year-old me was told I had to go to university, and at the time I said, well then, I'm taking my horse. And I was very lucky to get into Hartbury College.
Mhm.
It's there
I mean,
now
I'm
in
just
Hartbury
imagining
University, I
your
believe.
horse. I'm just imagining your horse in your little halls of residence sitting up in bed next to you. So I've got to take my horse.
Yeah, he was about 500 meters from my halls from my room.
Lovely.
So yeah, I only had him there the first year, and then I had to sell him because I just couldn't afford it anymore. So it was a shame, but and it was a real like eye opener for me that I wasn't rich enough to be doing equestrian sport at an elite level. And I wasn't good enough either in hindsight. I wasn't good enough, but yeah, you either had to be absolutely like amazing or really rich, one of the others. But I wasn't either of those. So yeah. But I still carried on and I studied it. But it was equestrian business that I studied. And so I pulled a lot of the business because you do study like general business studies, and that's sort of what I studied alongside some of the equestrian science stuff that came along with it. So it was very
Mm.
interesting.
Mm. So were you able to do anything with that when you left? Did you go into equestrian business?
Yes, yeah, I pretty much worked in equestrian jobs from there onwards. I went out and started sort of randomly selling horse wormers to racing yards, and then I went on to work at the jockey club, for a while, and then finally I worked for the equestrian national governing body.
Wow,
So yeah, so I definitely used it. So it was a niche skill, but I definitely used it in my
followed your
career.
passion.
So it wasn't gone to waste. Yeah.
So is that going to come out in any of your books? You must have novel ideas based around riding.
My first rom-com had horses in it, but it didn't sell on subs. So it unfortunately, I don't think it'll ever see the light of day. That said, I would love to write an equestrian sports sort of romance, but I have something in my head that's more like, have you read The Favourites, the recent ice skating one?
No.
It's like an Olympic. It's about the ice skaters doing the Olympics and things like that. But I can imagine it almost being a bit like that. So like a big sweeping one rather than a small rom-com. But that's way off in the future.
Uh,
Not something I'm gonna do now.
I'm sure we're going to see something with horses from you. The new Jilly Cooper.
Yeah, maybe.
So then let's go on to your third book choice.
Oh, The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary. I
Mhm.
am a massive fan of Beth O'Leary. I'm going to see her tomorrow in Bath, for her newest novel, Swept Away. So excited for that. The Flat Chair. I was really excited about the. So I remember saying to one of my friends, I was reading a lot of American, like the current most popular rom-coms were American. A lot of them in the charts, pretty much all of them. So you had like Emily Henry. I mean, Colin Hoover is not a rom-com, but still you had, that sort in the charts, Lauren Asher and things like that. And I was like, where are the British girls? And my friends put me in the flat chat in the direction of Beth O'Leary, and I've read all her books. I think she's absolutely brilliant. Just a really charming writer with really
Mm.
lovely characters, which I really enjoy.
Mm. So what was going on in your life around that time? Where are you now? Are you still working in equestrian business, or have you moved on? You've done something else?
Yeah, I'm a civil servant now, so I do something quite different now. It's quite a boring job, but the I think I read The Flatshire when my son had just been born, so it
Hmm.
was been around then, um, and or maybe just before, maybe I was pregnant, but yeah, it was a time around. I think it was around COVID, so I
Hmm.
was sort of locked up. So the Flatshire kind of was an interesting twist on that because obviously they're sharing a flat, and they don't see each other and things like that. It was just a really interesting, fun escapist book to get into. The characters are just really funny and witty. Um, I'm kind of just trying to think what else was happening in my life. But yeah, I think it was a pretty dim time around because I was really ill when I was pregnant. So it would have been around that time. So it was a nice, joyous book to read.
So you were pregnant during the pandemic, during lockdown. That must have been challenging.
Yeah, I was just entering my third trimester when they said pregnant women had to stay at home,
Mm.
immediately locked down, and I was made furlough. So
Mm.
yeah, it was quite a traumatic time, to be
Mm.
honest, in hindsight. So it was quite calm at the time, but thinking back, it obviously did a lot. It would have changed the way I thought about things a lot,
Mm.
especially bringing a child into the world when it was in such a crazy time.
Mm. So you had a boy, a girl? How old now?
Yeah, a little boy. He is nearly 5.
Ah. And do you think that the children that were born around the time of the pandemic have had different experience in terms of social development? Has it had any impact, do you think?
I don't think so, no. I've seen not this age. Maybe the children that were a little bit older when it
Mm.
happened, if they had a year out of that social interaction. But by the time my son was old enough to be interacting with children, they were back to normal really. So around 18 months, 2 years, he was able to socialize, and I think that was what was important. I don't see it in his year. I think they're pretty good.
Mm. Mm. So how long had you been writing for at that point? Were you writing as well around that time? Writing novels?
Yeah, I started writing before then. So I think looking at the other day, I mean I've been writing since I was a teenager, but I think I properly got into writing novels around 2017.
Mm.
So I've written a lot of manuscripts which didn't land or go anywhere. I was probably querying agents for like 4 or 5 years. Um, and a lot of it was I go back to the YA space. I tried YA dystopian, did a few of those,
Just so
more sort of YA fantasy.
just to confirm, it's YA is young adult because not everybody who's listening is that
Oh,
familiar with
sorry.
that genre.
Yeah, good
So
point.
young
Yeah.
adult. So you were writing young adult, or did you say you were writing young adult as well?
Yeah, I started out writing young adults, but I didn't get an agent writing my writing young adults, and I actually think it was reading some Beth O'Leary that inspired me to write adult rom-coms because I just really connected with her voice and it felt much closer to my own voice, and I thought, I can almost see myself writing like that,
Hmm.
and that sort of gave me the little boost of confidence that I needed to try and write, yeah, an adult book, which I don't know why, I just didn't think I could, but I obviously can.
I don't think it's any easier writing children's or young adult books. I think people think that it's easier, but it's
No,
not.
I'd say it's harder, especially in
Mm.
this day and age. Definitely.
Mm. Okay, so let's go on to your fourth book.
Yes, so The Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. This is my this is my guilty pleasure book, I think. I think Lisa Kleypas' historical romances are absolutely peak romance. They are just absolutely brilliant. Obviously, I don't think they're completely PC in this day and age. Um, the characters, especially the male characters, aren't always very well behaved. But that's what we love about them. In the historical setting, Sebastian St. Vincent, I think it is the main character in Devil in Winter. Sorry. And he is probably just his character arc through. I mean, it's a whole series, so it's the Wallflower series, and this is book three, I believe. But his character arc, he goes from being the villain to the romantic lead,
Mhm.
and the way she did it. That I read somewhere an article she wrote saying that her editor genuinely did not believe that she could redeem this character. She was like, "There's no way you're going to redeem this terrible villain, this naughty rake, and make him the romance." The like make the best romance character ever. She did. It's honestly one of my favorite books. And I really was really inspired by that talent of being able to redeem a main male character.
And how do you think she did it?
Oh, it was just how we went from not caring about anyone to this female, that the woman in his life is the only thing that matters, and he would have. And there's this the saying, isn't it? It's like a villain would burn down the world for the girl, and you definitely got that sort of vibe from him. Like he would, yeah, he would get up to naughty bad things in order to protect her, but it just works. So yeah, he's still the villain at the end of the book, but you also love him. So
As a reader, the fact that he loves the heroine to such an extent is what wins you over, presumably.
yeah, like he would die for her, and yeah, without spoilers, he almost does. That's absolutely a spoiler. Sorry if anyone hasn't read it, but yeah,
So,
it's still worth reading.
so we haven't got very much about your life, but so you started off doing equestrian business, then you went into civil service, and you've got a 5-year-old son. So tell us a bit more about what's going on in your life around this time.
So, around when I was reading Devil in Winter,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
yeah, that you know what, that would have been not long after. So, I think it was still lockdown for about 18 months after I gave birth.
Mhm.
Intermittently, I think they locked down again around the Christmas. And obviously I had a young boy. It was dark. It was winter. Um, I found those early years of motherhood absolutely exhausting. They completely drain me. But one thing I found and if any young mums get this was my savior. If you get stuck with the baby on you, but
Hmm.
you have your phone nearby. You can get reading my book on my phone. So I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm stuck again. But I've got my phone and I've got my book. And it would be like this, like, I don't even want to say it, like this, I could just escape into my book, just wherever I was at any time. And you can read it in the dark and the light. It was brilliant. Yeah, I absolutely just flew through the Lisa Kleypas books. I think there's probably like probably about 14 or 15, and I read them all on my phone. And then I read them again on my phone because they were just so good.
Excellent. I've memories of trying to eat one-handed while breastfeeding or holding my baby.
Yeah.
And the sort of meals. I remember I used to make a. I've got it from a recipe book or magazine that said ideal things to prepare that you can eat one-handed while you're nursing. And I remember I melted this blue cheese into pasta shells and then put a load of watercress, and that was my favorite. So I used to remember eating
Nice.
that. I could do it one-handed. And it was quick and easy to
Yeah.
prepare. You don't get much time as a
Yeah,
uh,
no, I'm lucky. My husband's very supportive. He's a great dad, but yeah, motherhood, young motherhood is very tiring, especially during mat leave. No one ever talks about it. It is not a holiday. It is a very hard year. I'm sure some people have lovely, calm, quiet babies, but yeah, it was a very full-on year. So it was lovely to be able to escape and just be in somebody else's head, for a while.
so how do you find time to be a mum and work and write? What time of day do you write?
Now, this time, I I'm a quick writer, so that is lucky. I sort of hyper focus when I'm in writing mode, and I can write at least 1,000 words in an hour and a half. So I can write really quickly, but I always know what I'm going to write before I start writing. So I know where my characters are going to go. I have a pretty good understanding of what the conversation is going to be. And I plot it out in quite a lot of detail. So I start writing as soon as my son goes to bed. So
Mm.
sometimes that's 7:30, sometimes that's 8 p.m., sometimes it's later. And then I try and write until I go to sleep at like 10. So I log in for my normal day job at 7 a.m. I'm very lucky that I work from home mostly, otherwise this wouldn't be possible. And then finish my day at my day job at like 4:30, and then I dinner, mum stuff. And yeah, then day job to me starts from 7 to 8 p.m.
Mm. Do you have weekends off? Just family time at weekends, or do you try and keep it up through 7 days a week?
It's hard to do stuff at the weekend now. The house is just too noisy, too busy. But that said, if I'm up against it, my husband, again, he's great. He'll take my son out, so give me a couple of hours to do some more writing or reading, whatever I need to do. So that's very helpful.
Good, good. So let's go on to your last book.
Ah, The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abby Dare. I read this some years ago, actually, probably when I was working with horses. I think I came across it because it won the Bath Novel Award, and it was when I was writing and I was thinking of entering the Bath Novel Award. And someone had mentioned it, and I thought, oh, this looks really interesting, and to see what sort of books win awards. And wow, this book really opened my eyes to voice in a book, because the main character in it has such a clear, it's first person, but she has such a clear voice in it. You feel, and it really transports you into her mind, into her, you feel like you're having a conversation with her the whole time. Um, and you feel so much empathy for her. She is in the worst situation. And you sort of follow her through this adventure essentially to escape this horrible life. And she ends up in another horrible life and another horrible life. And she's trying to like she's trying so hard to better her circumstances. And you just really, really, really like just want it. You just so want her to get it. So yeah, it's just one of my favorite books ever. Love
Mm,
it.
excellent. So that probably what brings us up to, because I like to follow through a person's life. So that kind of takes you up to about where you are now, I guess. So you're working full time and you're writing, and it sounds like you really don't have much time to yourself at all.
No, but this is how I am. I don't like to sit still. I never have done. I like to keep busy. And I'm very grateful that I get to write and someone is paying me to do it. Obviously, if I could, well, the dream is to write full time. That is the dream. Um, or at least most of the time. If I had another job, that wouldn't be the end of the world. But if I could rely on my writing financially, that would be really lovely. And I just keep going, I guess.
I'm
I'm
looking,
very lucky to be with head of zoos who are really supportive. So you never know, it might happen one day.
well, I'm looking forward to reading a book about a romance about horses. I'm sure I'm sure there's going to be something, a stable romance or something. Horse riders romance, racers, horse racers romance. There must be
Yeah,
something.
I mean, yeah, I never really knew that much about horse racing, to be fair, but I could definitely, I think there's definitely a story there. I've met a lot of characters in the industry. I'm sure I could turn that into a book.
Will be one day, I'm sure. So, my last question to ask you before you leave this island: what will you take with you as your luxury?
I did bring it with me. So my I drink tea like you would not believe. This is probably my secret to getting everything done. I go through PG tips for fun. So I would bring my mug and tea
Just
if I was
ordinary
allowed. Is that two
tea.
items?
Yeah, it's just ordinary tea, just an ordinary PG Tips tea bag, is it?
Yeah. Ordinary tea, two sweeteners and then some milk.
Lovely.
Perfect.
They're very easily pleased.
Yeah. I wouldn't be very happy if I didn't have it. So that was yeah, that would be it.
Well, well, congratulations on your debut coming out tomorrow because it'll be the day after this goes live, and I shall look forward to reading it. So thank you very much for being a guest on the island.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Bye bye, Chloe.
Bye.